Hey everyone, welcome back to New Slang. I'm music journalist Thomas Mooney. We're kicking the week off being joined by Billy Law. You may know Billy from the Dallas garage country outfit Ottoman Turks, but Billy's also a solo artist and singer-songwriter in his own right. He's releasing his debut album, Alone Somewhere, on State Fair Records in a couple of months, August 20th to be exact. He's already shared a handful of preview singles from Alone Somewhere. Voicemail is just pure alt-country gold, while It's Not Right has this really gorgeous slow build and rise that really harkens back to when Americana was really influenced from indie rock. And it also really makes sense that that song specifically opens the record. You really have that build up and that tension. And matter of fact, a new single is going to be out at the end of this week. It's called I Don't Care If She Ever Comes Home. This one, it too also has that roller coaster build, rise, and fall. Throughout Alone Together, he really taps into some of that same territory that David Ramirez has, or as I mentioned just a minute ago, like the Americana-leaning indie rock stuff from like the early to mid 2000s. Maybe in that like mid Wilco years, M. Ward, Josh Ritter to Dawes to like when Fleet Foxes was really huge, that era of indie rock Americana thing. You can hear that throughout Alone Somewhere as well. We talk about some of that music and we talk about some of the larger themes and the conceptual aspects of the album. And then we eventually drift into a host of pop culture topics as well. It was really enjoyable getting into some of that with Billy. Today's presenting partner is our pals over at Desert Door Texas Sulto. If you've been listening to New Slang for really any amount of time, you'll know that Desert Door is one of my all-time favorite premium, high-quality spirits. If you haven't or aren't sure what exactly a Sotol is, I'm going to let you in on a little secret that's going to up the game on your liquor cabinet. For starters, the best reference point that I can point you to is to think about a tequila or a mezcal. Do you feel that Western desert, that Texas ruggedness? Okay, Sotol is like that, but a little bit more refined, smooth, and fragrant. It intrigues the palate and offers these hints of vanilla and citrus. There's an earthiness that often sends me right back to my Trans-Pecos and far west Texas roots. There's plenty to love about Desert Door. For me, it all starts right there. A close second is just how versatile Desert Door really is. You can go full highbrow and experiment with concocting a variety of cocktails that call for muddling fresh fruit, sprigs of thyme, sticks of cinnamon. It's perfect for that world. If you're a little bit more down home, if you've just rolled up the sleeves of your denim Wrangler button-up, it's perfect for that as well. If you're just desiring something that's short and sweet, it hits the mark every time. Desert Door is genuine and authentically West Texan. It's inherently West Texan. They harvest Sotol plants out in the wild and are knowledgeable conservationists at heart. That's obviously something incredibly important to me. They shine a light on what makes West Texas special and unique and worth preserving and keeping it safe from exploitation. Right now, you can find Desert Door all over Texas, Colorado, Tennessee, and there's budding numbers in places like New Mexico, Arizona, California, and Georgia. Best thing you can do is to check out desertdoor.com to find where Desert Door is locally. Again, that's desertdoor.com. If this is your first time listening to New Slang, be sure to hit that subscribe button. New Slang is available virtually everywhere you can listen to podcasts. If you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave one of those 5-star reviews. Be sure to follow us on all your favorite social media platforms. That would be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. All those links, they will be in the show notes. Go and check out the merch store while you're at it. That is newslangpodcast.bigcartel.com. Over there, we have t-shirts, shot glasses, stickers, coffee mugs, and a lot more available. And like I said just 2 seconds ago, all those links, they will be in the show notes. Anyway, let's get on into it. Here is Billy Law.
Yeah. Well, I guess like where I kind of want to start off with is just the obvious. You know, you have this new record that's going to be coming out in August. It's your solo debut album, and obviously, like you've done work with other bands, obviously, notably Ottoman Turks. You guys have had some buzz and some notoriety. What's it say though, as far as, you know, putting out your own solo album? I'm sure like you've been writing songs and been a solo, quote unquote, solo artist this whole time as well. What made it right for like right now, as far as getting that ready and, you know, releasing it this year?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had this set of songs, and this like idea for this record for a really long time, actually. It's kind of a concept album, about really my, kind of getting out of the house the first time and growing up and, facing adult situations for the first time, all wrapped around, kind of this, story of me on and off again with my now wife. But so this set of songs has really been picked for a while, and it's a project that we've kind of started and wiped clean, start over, I think on 3 separate occasions at this point. And we actually finished tracking everything for the record the day before all the lockdowns started. So, the plan was originally to release it in 2020, or that was the goal. But obviously things kind of went all over the place. And so we just kind of spent our time, took our time mixing and mastering, back and forth. Marshall Pruitt, the guy that engineered and mixed it, just would send me mixes. I'd be like, yeah, let's change this, change that. So we got to kind of take our time with it. And as soon as COVID started to dissipate a little bit, it was, you know, plan was to start releasing stuff. I really didn't want to do, you know, as a debut, you don't want to do it, release something during something like COVID. I think Josh, my bandmate in Turks, Joshua Ray Walker, was able to release something during COVID, but he already kind of had some steam going for him. Releasing a debut and not being able to play shows or whatnot, I just felt like it was going to kind of fall flat. So we waited until afterwards.
Right. Like it's so weird, obviously. We've not had anything ever like this, as far as, you know, this big giant break. And I find it so fascinating as far as how it's affected the industry and songwriters because of that, because of the, well, I can't necessarily put this out now, or I could, but like, you know, you're really gambling, I guess. Like you're not setting yourself up as like, I guess, like the best way possible, as you mentioned, like having shows and you know, being able to like interact with people. That's what really kind of can push a record. And if you take that away, like you're just kind of not necessarily setting yourself up for failure, but you're setting yourself up for maybe not getting the proper attention. And I don't know, this whole entire thing has been just really fascinating, in my opinion, as far as like how artists have approached it. Because as you know, like you just mentioned there, the stops and starts on this record a few times, and then of course this whole year. I think like making a record is always typically takes longer than most people realize, but then you add in this like monkey wrench of a sort of a situation, and it can just make something where you have all these mixed emotions about it. How did you, I guess this, like, I guess like my question here is like, how did you stay like true to on the path? Because I'm sure like there was moments of being unsure about, you know, the project as a whole because of the situations at hand.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think like many artists are pretty wild in their emotions about the projects that they're working on. You go from low to high pretty quickly. I mean, I think most artists like on a weekly basis go from like, man, this project can't be stopped. Like next up, Red Rocks. And then at the same time, like the next day they're like, why am I even playing music? It makes no sense. Nobody listens to it. Nobody cares. Woe is me. So, yeah, when you kind of compile that and compound it over like 4 or 5 years of working on something, it really, you don't know how to feel about it anymore. And, but I was like, these songs are important to me. It's telling a story, and, it's a piece of me in time also, working on the project. And so, there was really no, I always knew it was going to be finished. It just was a matter of when, really.
Right. What about that as far as like, staying attached to these songs? I'm sure like you're able to do that, but with any passing
That's a good
time,
question.
your I guess your emotions can shift and morph over time, or your
Yeah.
perception of what you were, who you were at that time.
Yeah. Well, artists, I think, also are, always ready to move on to the next project too. And that's something that I've
Hmm.
struggled with because, when you play in a live setting, especially when you're playing DFW a lot, Dallas Fort Worth, you're playing, you don't want to play the same songs over and over again for 3 years. So, a lot of people in Dallas and whatnot know a lot of songs that'll probably be on my second record. Because I didn't want to keep beating them over the head with the first album's worth of songs. But, like I said, the songs are important. So I knew I was going to have to kind of stick with it. And I'm still excited about working on the second project, but the songs are important to me. And so, I just tried to stay on them. And also there's like this aspect of wanting to like continually mold them and craft those songs. And it's like, I really had to just let them be, when you see a song, they always say songs are never really finished. And always wanted to like keep working on them and change the arrangement or whatever. But it's like for this album, we wanted to just keep it the way that it was at that point in time.
Yeah, like the knowing when to stop, because like if you don't
Hmm.
stop at some point, like it'll just be forever
Yeah,
little
we'll just have
changes.
like an army of didgeridoos on there.
Yeah, like just putting them on, stripping it back, putting it back on, and like that's just like probably the process. If you just keep on nitpicking, is uh, adding stuff on and then subtracting it and then just doing it again.
Yeah.
Lost in the woods. That's I think with any kind of art, I feel like that's what the biggest I guess like villain in it in the process, if you will, is where it's all stuck in your head and you don't know exactly where it needs to go, where it needs to finish.
Yeah,
And
like you can't assess it like from the correct point of view because you're so biased one way or the other.
yeah, well, and also like you mentioned how like obviously this record has a conceptual feel.
Hmm.
The story of that of you and your wife going back and forth, and I feel like there's like that early early 20s feeling, as you mentioned, like the early adulthood,
Yes,
um,
that is the
where
feel.
yeah, like where it is. I don't know, like maybe I feel like we're all like we're around the same age as far as the ideas of like what we were told adulthood was going to be and versus what it actually is, or like
Yeah.
what our ideas of what our parents thought adulthood was, or like what their version of adulthood was versus
Hmm.
what it is now. I feel like you very much tap into a lot of those uneasy, restless feelings.
Yeah. I mean, I think I appreciate you saying that, noticing that. I mean, it's definitely like this is an angsty early 20s album for sure. I think it's probably, when we were putting it together, I was always like, no matter what this record does, I really hope, I feel like it'll connect to some lonely college kid that's like, oh, I found this, I've never heard of him. It's Billy Law. There's this one album that he has that I really connect to. And I'm like, I just feel like it is for those kind of early 20s angsty kids that are trying to put it all together, learn themselves, learn the world around them.
Yeah. Was there a touchstone record for you? Obviously there had to be, like for you as far as that angsty right out of college or in
As
college?
far, I mean, is that specific feel? I don't know if there's one that I can point to. I will say I'm a huge fan of Jimmy Eat World, and Clarity, which is one of their earlier records that they put out before they had put out like The Middle and Sweetness and whatnot on Bleed American. Clarity is an album that I kind of came to in college, and it's very like. I think it would be considered emo. You'd have to ask Paul, drummer in Turks, is kind of the arbiter of what is emo and is not emo. But that's definitely one. Actually, Paul and I listen to it every Valentine's Day. We hang out on Valentine's Day. We were roommates in college, and we used to spin that record on Valentine's Day because we didn't have girlfriends or anything. So we'd just drink Miller Lite and listen to that on vinyl. And so we've made a tradition of it. We've done it every year since. So we bring wives and girlfriends along now, and they have to hang out with us on Valentine's Day and listen to Clarity by Jimmy Eat World while we all drink beer. So yeah, that's probably the record that I'm trying to emulate the feeling of Valentine's Day, Clarity, Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah, I also love the, everyone has like a friend who draws the line of where a certain genre is.
Well, yeah, I learned a long time ago, don't ever try to mess with anyone that knows what they're talking about when it comes to classifying emo and pop punk, because you will never be correct.
Right. Yeah. It's the, you'll hear a lot of people, and I feel like Weezer is very much like early Weezer, 90s Weezer is in the
like
emo.
Pinkerton, for sure.
And then like other people are like, I guess maybe they have the perception of Weezer always just being like, I don't know, like make believe and forward, or like maybe Green Album and forward. So they're like, just what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, no. These guys are like,
people that are really into like traditional bluegrass and I'm doing quotes with my fingers now, real country. You think those people are strict. You should just talk to someone about what they, is good Charlotte emo or not. It'll really make somebody explode.
Yeah. Well, it's always like the funny thing too about when they, I guess like this goes into the whole like quote unquote, did someone sell out, or are they just like corporate kind of plants? When the mainstream buys into something that's very indie. And of course, like emo was one of those genres that had a moment in the sun. I think like just like general indie rock did as well back in like the 05 Garden State era kind of shit. But that's another argument right there for people as far as like if they're real and genuine, or if this is just like a, an industry plant of sorts.
Yeah. And I used to have a lot of opinions about that kind of stuff. And in the last like few years, I'm just like, I'm too tired. It is what it is. And I'm going to stop saying like, that's bad music or whatever. It's just like, I don't prefer that. I don't like that. I do like this. And it's just an easier way to live than trying to, keep everything within its correct classification and whether it's good or not,
Yeah, this is going to be like one of those like super nerdy admissions for myself. And that is like back in like around high school, first couple years of college, I tried to like always have what my perception of the right genre label for all my music in iTunes. And that was like always just like the most exhausting thing ever. Trying to like create these very specific genre labels. And in the last, like, I don't know at what point, but like I just turned everything to just saying music. And that's made like life a whole lot easier. But as like you can imagine, like, I think like it's weird. It's like, I don't have any less passion talking about that stuff, but like, it's just like, where are you putting your energy for it?
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's like, it helps to classify things. That's why we have genres in the first place. But when it becomes like I don't know, something that you're beating people over the head with, it's a different story. But it is fun to discuss the nuances of genres and what makes something something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gatekeeping aspects of it is what.
Yes, I think we learned a lot about opinions. Last year in 2020, there were a lot of opinions all over the place. So we've all learned, have your opinions, but they are just opinions. They're yours.
I'm on the side of like, let's have like, you don't necessarily have to be like Jack Black's character in High Fidelity, but like, that's, you can still have like those record store conversations about records that are
which
fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
This episode of New Slang is brought to you by the Blue Light Live here in Lubbock, Texas. Blue Light has long been the heart and soul of the Lubbock singer-songwriter scene and has been a home away from home for some of Texas, Americana, country, and rock and roll's finest over the years. Talk with 99.9% of the songwriters who have come out of Lubbock and the Panhandle at large over the past 20 years, and they'll point to just how integral and necessary the Blue Light is. With live music and touring slowly but surely coming back, spots like the Blue Light are getting back to their usual ways as well. That means music every night of the week. Do you want to see that schedule? Well, I've got a few options for you. 1, go to their socials and give them a follow. That is at Blue Light Live on Twitter, at The Blue Light Live on Instagram, and of course by just searching The Blue Light Live on Facebook. They're consistently posting that week's lineup of shows, as well as those heavy hitters that ought to be on your calendar that are coming up on the horizon. 2, check out bluelightlubbock.com as well. There they have the full schedule, the cover charges, time, any of those specials that may be happening. While there, go check out their merch page. They have a wide range of hats, koozies, hoodies, sweaters, beanies, jackets, and so much more. You can, of course, get all of your merch needs when you go see your favorite band take the stage at Blue Light. Just ask the bartender and they will get you all set. Speaking of which, that's another great way of seeing who's playing there. Just go to the Blue Light. It's at 1806 Buddy Holly Avenue here in Lubbock, Texas. And of course, again, that is bluelightlubbock.com. I'll throw a link into the show notes too. Maybe I'll see you there. Okay, let's get back to the show.
Going back to like when I asked you the question about that record, that's kind of like the Jimmy Eat World answer that you gave.
Yeah.
For me, the record Boxer by The National was my record because it made me feel like that existential, like growing up dread. Where like you kind of feel like, oh shit, like I'm not like at the same trajectory as like other people that I graduated with. What's wrong with me? And then like, later you're like, oh my God, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, for sure. That is 100% the way it goes.
Yeah, that's just like, I don't know. For me, like it was one of those things where I'd put that record on, like driving around at night,
and just completely dissociate.
Yeah, basically like that. And then like the first 2 Interpol records were just always on for me. Back around, I don't know what year, 07, 05, 08, something like that. Feels like forever ago. Yeah,
I rest in peace. That Heartbreaker by Ryan Adams is also kind of that for me. It's like when you listen to it though, and then as you get older, you're like, I can still enjoy this, but I also realized that I was like really leaning in to trying to feel all of those like sad, woe is me feelings. Yeah, it's like we were using those as like feeling boosters.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've had a couple of conversations with one of my friends where we talk about this specifically, more so with like literature. When, if you're gonna read like Catcher in the Rye or like Into the Wild, it has like a expiration date. Like at some point, you're too old to read it to quote unquote get it. And like, I think like those two, like Fight Club, like these were like all like, and these are, you know, in a lot of ways still my favorites, but I don't relate to them in a way.
Can't approach it the same way.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and we got a buddy who had never read those books, and like now he's like 40, and it's like don't go do that, because you're gonna think like we were fucking idiots, because I don't know, like you had like there's an expiration date on a lot of stuff.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
or worse, you're the old guy that still thinks that it's
exactly.
like groundbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the there for a while. Like I was reading like Catcher in the Rye like once a year kind of thing, or every couple of years, back around the teenage years. And at some point, like I read it and I was like, oh my God, like this guy is like he's not the anti-hero. He's just like the whiny little turd, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I specifically remember that Fight Club is the best example, because I remember the first time watching that and being like, I can't believe that this movie is as incredible as it is. Like, I mean, wow, how heady and deep. And I remember the time I watched it when I got older, and I was like, oh, okay. So they were specifically trying to get people my age to say exactly what I was saying, you know, like it was specifically crafted for people in their, I don't know, late teenagers, early 20s to be like, wow, that's really, really something.
Yeah, like it's just so profound for that. I do still think that there is something tapping into the late stage capitalism aspects of the late 90s. Like,
oh, no
I guess
doubt.
technically, like I guess that's before like the .com boom or bust or bubble, whatever. But like it's obviously talking a lot about that, about corporate America in so many ways. I guess like there's still some relevancy there, but yeah, it's all the like the anarchy aspects, the even just like the language, and I still love like Chuck Palahniuk as a writer, but like I've not read any of his stuff in probably like a decade, because it's a different point in your life.
Right. Yeah.
Did you ever read any of his stuff?
No, I didn't. I've only seen that. So.
Yeah. Well, don't go now. Like this is like
okay,
the cautionary.
I won't.
No, but
I'll
like,
steer clear.
I think like he had like a lot of really interesting stories for his novels. Like he had like this one called Choke and like Survivor, and what I love so much about him was like the way he used language and like the pacing of his novels. But yeah, it's different world. I was thinking though, like right now, maybe like the new version of Fight Club was probably Mr. Robot. I don't know if you ever watched that TV show.
No, I can't even begin to tell you how much TV I watched last year. Like a really, truly insane amount. And that was on the list, but we never ended up getting to it.
What was on your list as far as like what you guys watched?
Well, so it was, my wife wanted me, I kind of missed out, I guess, on some 90s culture and just some culture in general, I guess. I was raised like Church of Christ. And so I guess we weren't allowed to watch sitcoms because they were stupid. And I just missed out on some culture. So my wife took me through, and we watched like all of Boy Meets World. So we watched a lot of stuff like that. Like I'd never seen Lost. I know that's not 90s, but it's still like a piece of culture that I had never watched. Man, we started and finished a bunch of shows. But we focused a lot on stuff like that I had just missed out on. And now I feel a little bit more culturally relevant.
It's funny how like Lost at one time was like the most important thing on TV.
Yeah. And you know what? It was good. But TV just worked differently back then, you know, it doesn't work the same way as it does now, you know, because people would, you know, they had to wait for the next episode. And so everyone was just talking about it. And and that was, I guess, kind of around the streaming era too, when that had just like kind of started, I think, right?
It was around. I know like one of the major pivoting points, I guess, would be early streaming, and then like there was the writer's strike at one point between seasons. So like I guess like those first 3 seasons, maybe 2 or 3 seasons, it's also like super long. Like all those, there's like 24 episode seasons, and
Yeah.
people don't really do that now unless you're like that, just like the sitcom kind of thing. Whatever is like today's Friends, maybe. I don't know what show that would be, but now like everything's like so much smaller and compact, where it's like that 10 to 12 episode thing. And I think like they're like those final seasons are like in the 14 to 16 range, where it's like more of an emphasis on let's make these a tight packed and a event. And I don't know, like what's so funny about that show was like there are so many fucking theories and there is so much to like unpack. And that's like the little part that you missed was like just going to like lost forums and trying to figure out what the smoke monster was and shit.
Yeah, I think so. And it was like a little bit more like David Lynch is like my favorite. Like Twin Peaks is, if I get to choose one piece of art like forever, it would just be like the Twin Peaks series. And I like definitely there was a lot of like kind of surreal stuff in Lost, but it was all a little bit. It was easier to explain, I think, or at least have theories that actually explain it, not just like have random thoughts like stuff with Lynch's stuff. It was just kind of like, oh, you can kind of have any theory and it will fit maybe. So I can imagine just like forums were huge at that time. I can imagine them just running like completely and totally wild.
Yeah. We would have like watch parties where we would just like binge the entire season before the next season started, just to have like that, that refresher. And we would like it's so weird, like having that feeling of like we would have like these conversations about a fucking TV show for like an hour and a half after every episode, trying to like what we talked about as far as what we picked up. And like like there's some really, really great high drama in there as well. But I don't know, if like Lost works. Like the general story obviously would, but the presentation is a little different.
For sure, they'd have to make some changes. And man, everything that came out in the 2000s, like early 2000s, is so early 2000s. It's hard to explain. Like it's like it can't be the music, like just everything around that time period, fashion, like it can only be in that time period. There's something very specific about it.
Right. It's the I know like with Lost specifically, with Grey's Anatomy, like the soundtracks are very important as far as again going to that like just generic indie rock feel. The clothing, the fashion, as you mentioned, it's weird because like thinking back, I think of it like more as like almost 90s stuff, but it's definitely not 90s. But I feel like people would feel like that if they were not
right.
around.
And I always say, and I'm sure I'm wrong, I know nothing about fashion, but all of the decades come back at some point in time, but I don't know if the early 2000s will. Because it's just like, it's really kind of like an amalgamation of all of the worst things from the 90s. They got to survive, and then we added on some worse stuff. Like nothing fit. It was bad.
Yeah, like the fit thing, I know like
I was wearing American Eagle, like
Hollister,
literally from like head to toe. Like even my underwear would like match my polo shirt and stuff. Like it was just a different time.
It's really weird as far as these like American Eagle, Hollister, like these big companies. I think like everyone was informed by how people dressed on like Laguna Beach MTV. And then like we're just in the middle of fucking Texas, for me in the middle of West Texas, and everyone's wearing like the two polo shirts together, or like a lot of gel in the hair, the puka shells, and it's like this has nothing.
It really didn't make any sense. And at that time it was like, man, if you didn't have like an animal on your polo shirt, like representing what brand it was, Like, it was embarrassing. And now I'm like, man, don't put your branding on anything that I own. Like,
Right. The advertising aspect. I remember pretty early on being like, this feels like I'm just advertising. I'm just like the walking billboard for you guys. I don't know if
I
that's
guess I wasn't
necessarily.
as smart as you were. I was like, man, if I could just get a Lacoste shirt and people would know that I own a Lacoste shirt, man, that would really be cool.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's probably also because like my parents were just no, you're not going to enjoy this in 5 years and just kind of, I don't know, beat me over the head with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just thinking back about like that era as far as TV shows that I didn't watch until later. And that would probably be like The Wire, which feels so different than that. Feels like more like late 90s or 90s
Yeah,
era.
it does. It's weird how those things bleed over.
Yeah, like that. Just I don't know, and it's probably more because of I don't know, like it was an adult show, I guess maybe. I don't know.
That's a good theory, because it was kind of like out of bounds as growing up. Now it's like, no, that's just the best show.
Yeah, that's probably like my all-time favorite is The Wire, and I always end up like it's always on social media where that's like my go-to show as far as analogies go. Like I'll just
Yeah.
compare shit to The Wire, or like this is like this scene from The Wire. Now that you brought up back Lost, maybe I'll transition to just making Lost analogies though.
Yeah, it's time to go back to your roots.
Yeah. You mentioned obviously growing up in Dallas.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've been in Ottoman Turks and all these bands as far as like State Fair Records. That I feel like all this stuff right now is really, really cool coming out of Dallas as far as this sound and like this indie rock to singer-songwriter to alt country Americana feel. This, I guess, like to describe it would be a scene, if you will. What's it been like, I guess, seeing this kind of grow from in this like really organic, grassroots kind of way?
I mean, it's been cool. When I was growing up, it was when like alt country was really like taken over, and that was definitely the hip thing to be making. Is like, if you don't sound like I don't know, Wilco or Uncle Tupelo, then I don't want to listen to it. And there was a lot of rockabilly and stuff like that going on, and I just feel like in the past 10 years or so, it's diversified a ton, and it's just been cool to watch, honestly. And I don't think, a lot of the venues that used to be like, well, this is, the type of music that we have at that venue, or this venue, don't like hold true to those same genres anymore. Like, they're willing to have like, hey, it's singer-songwriter night tonight, and tomorrow we've got a laser show and psychedelic indie pop,
Yeah, I think like that's happening in general, especially like I obviously like you guys aren't you guys wouldn't ever be described as the quote unquote Texas country stuff, but
No.
you've seen a lot of like bands change over there as far as what is being considered or like long story short, what I'm saying is like 30 years ago, a lot of these bands, they wouldn't be playing these Texas country venues because it didn't sound like Texas country at that time. And I think like that's happening just across genre, across at least here in Texas. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I still think country artists have some work to do as far as letting people in. I think that can still get pretty cliquish.
Right. Yeah.
The bigger the hat, the more you know about them. But yeah, overall, I mean, I think that a lot of people are like, hey, I'm friends with that person. Why aren't we playing shows? Even if the genre isn't, exactly on point.
I want to break one more time to talk about our pals over at Desert Door and offer up a quick Thomas Mooney's Cocktail Minute. As I've said probably 100 times by now, by no means am I a seasoned mixologist or bartender, but these have been some of my Desert Door go-tos. For starters, let's just go with the tried and true ranch water. Pop the top off the Topo Chico, take a good swig, now pour in some Desert Door, and top it off by throwing in a few lime wedges. Never fails. This one, it's so simple it probably doesn't even count, but again, pretty foolproof. Do the exact same thing, but get you a Mexican Coca-Cola. I guess you can go with a regular one, but you're really cutting yourself short if you don't opt for the Mexican import variety. All right, here's the change-up you've been waiting for. Desert Door Sangria. This one is prime for when you have company coming over and you aren't wanting to just be over there making 6 different drinks at a time. What you'll need is some Desert Door, obviously, a bottle of red wine, honey, boiling water, apple cider vinegar, some cinnamon sticks, a couple of apples, and some thyme sprigs. I know, that may sound intimidating, but trust me, it's worth the prep, and honestly, it's pretty easy. For starters, get you a punch bowl, add that honey, those cinnamon sticks, and the boiling water together. Now, you're going to want to stir that all up and let it cool down for about an hour or so. Remember, patience is a virtue. Once that's done, add some Desert Door and stir vigorously. Now add the wine, the cider, and the vinegar, and continue stirring until it's equally mixed. Now slice those apples up and toss them in. Put in those thyme sprigs as well. Now you can pour that over some ice and you have a mighty fine sangria. Chef's kiss. Anyway, those have been some of my favorite go-tos as of late. And remember, Desert Door is as versatile as vodka and more refined, smooth, complex, and intriguing than tequila. It's rich in balance, and whether you decide to keep it simple or want to experiment, Desert Door is that perfect Texas spirit. There's plenty more recipes over at desertdoor.com as well. Check out the show notes for a link. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, no, you're right on the diversity as far as the inclusion. We should probably like put an asterisk there and say, as long as you're like a white guy, right? That's what's been happening right now. But there's still plenty of work as far as that's been like a really interesting conversation that I've seen at least on a lot of social media as far as, you know, what is country music and like why is it only these people being allowed to participate, and a lot of work to be done still on that. But I think like there at a long time there was no dialogue, there was no
well, it was just
that,
you know, this is this brand of country and this is that brand. Like this is, you know, these Texas country guys are going to be different than these Nashville country guys, and it's just it's getting better. But I think, you know, maybe it's just me. I feel like I don't want to say that I play an extremely diverse type of music, but you know, if you listen to the record, there's not really one genre that you can pin it down as, and I'm always kind of struggling to figure out like, you know, which camp am I in? It's because it's like, you know, Americana with maybe some indie rock sensibilities or whatnot, but it's like, which circle do I fit into? You know?
Yeah, that whole thing where it's so weird. Like the more we use Americana, the more or the less I know what it means.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
I have no idea at this point what Americana really even means, except for like maybe it's got some singer-songwriter folk adjacent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the safety net label.
Mm-hmm.
And like if you can't think of like what exactly it is, it's like, well, let's just call it Americana.
Yeah. It's like, I think all it really means is that person has listened to at least one country record in their life.
Right.
It's like the only thing that you can nail down.
Yeah. I think that it's so like, that's what was happening as far, I don't know, maybe it's always been this way as far as there's some artists who you just don't know, like the major labels back in the 80s or 70s didn't know where to put them. As far as like, you know, like Lyle Lovett or Robert Earl Keen back in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, they got like these a little bit of like being signed onto labels in Nashville, but like they didn't sound like, you know, top 40 country.
Right.
But like, did they also fit on like the, I don't know, the singer-songwriter circuit at the time? Like the more of like the folk kind of Laurel Canyon thing that was
Yeah.
probably happening back in the 70s, like out of there. I don't know. It's such a weird thing as far as how you are like pitched to an audience, because that's
Yeah. It's like a big deal and it's not a big deal at the same time. You know, I think when we don't allow ourselves to think too much about it, we go into it like, oh, well, that's like a pretty straightforward country guy, and he's playing in front of them, so we can't put someone that's a little different than that after him. But I mean, if you ask anyone, like, what type of music do you listen to? Their answer is always like everything. Whether that's true or not, like they still have like somebody that listens to country music, listens to other stuff. It's not like they can't appreciate that, you know?
right. I always look back at being here in Lubbock since high school, basically, where it always felt like with bills for shows, there would be a lot of diversity just because of necessity, because like there wasn't a whole lot of bands. So like there would always be just shows of where maybe if this was like in a bigger city, you would have more options to throw on 3 alt country bands, but like, oh, well, there's only like this one alt country band and we need like a, you know, if we're just doing a 3-person bill, a 3-band bill, be like, well, this band's more of like that REM version of like Southern rock. And then like this band is like a punk band, and this band is like doing like cowpunk kind of stuff. And like you just kind of, it was more out of necessity and that whole thing of, well, we're all buddies, so let's go and do that. So it's, I don't know. I feel like, again, like as you mentioned right there, it's not as big of a deal. You never have to explain this to other musicians, but like try to explain it to, you know, Johnny who works at so-and-so, trying to give the elevator pitch of what you sound like can like go forever. You mentioned like how obviously this record kind of being informed by some country stuff, being informed by indie rock, singer-songwriter. I always kind of go, when listening to this record, as far as the melodies go, there is a lushness on a lot of these songs, especially like on like the album closer, Slowly. It feels like that's like a big buildup for that song.
Yeah.
And I guess like can you talk a little bit about like finding those melodies, finding that the right sonic palette for the record, as far as it being a little bit more on the lush side and that build up, and you know, using some different I guess sounds than the quote unquote country world.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was never my intention or desire, for that matter, to play like straight country music. And I think, you know, when you play under the name of Billy Law, that's always people's assumption automatically is like, all right, I'm about to get some 1-4-5 country. And I love country music. I always have. I grew up with it. It's a big part of my musical background, but it's, I don't think that I write consistently great country songs, and I just don't have any desire to be pigeonholed as just country music. And I don't know, I wanted the album I wanted it to be very moody. That was kind of the thing. The theme that we were always talking about is like, I want this to rise and fall. I want to do things with these songs that aren't just super straightforward. And so yeah, I mean, but also it was like, we got to have some pedal steel on it, you know, we got to have upright bass on some of these songs. And so yeah, it's really just kind of like mixing all of those things together and seeing what comes out. Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, well, how informed are you as far as we're talking about like a lot of these throughout this conversation about the I guess like that top layer of culture and how that can like inspire and influence a sound. What about like as far as like your peers? What how is like playing with Ottoman Turks or like Josh's solo stuff influenced or affected the way you approach music?
Well, in a huge way. I mean, I wouldn't be writing music if I hadn't known Nathan. I mean, I joined Turks in high school, and I had Josh, who wasn't in Turks at the time, had just tried to get me into playing bass so that I could play with him in a band at some point. But I started playing bass with Nathan, and I didn't play guitar, and I didn't really think about writing music, though my mom was like a professional jazz singer when I was growing up. So music was always a part of my life, but writing was never really that much. It was never really a thought in my mind. And, Nathan is just such a good songwriter, and he was even in high school. And he kind of pushed me and helped me kind of develop that. And Josh too. I mean, I probably wouldn't, I mean, he kind of taught me how to play guitar, taught me my first few chords and whatnot. And always invited me out to play when he was hosting open mics and whatnot. So they've been huge influences for me. And I mean, we know with Josh and we know with Nathan, they're not really trying to write straight country music either. Josh maybe more so than Nathan, but he's definitely putting a twist on it whenever he can.
Yeah, like that's it's always like it feels like country, but like it's always feels like it's out of left field, and that's like obviously a good thing. There's like a little bit of there's something that's different.
It's just not always so like straightforward, I think, is kind of the main thing. There's I don't know. I don't want to say that country's not deep and layered, because it absolutely is, maybe more so than most other music. But I don't know. I think there's always just a lot to bite into with Josh.
Yeah. The thing that I feel like he gets every time as far as what country music is like that high and lonesomeness. He gets that right every damn time. But like as far as the way he will get that into a song always feels a little different. And there's a little bit of like that, I guess like we always romanticize like what a honky tonk was. I don't know if there's any like honky tonks the way like we think of it as far as the 70s version of a honky tonk or the 80s version. I don't know if that's still around, but like it feels like that's where it comes from. He's tapping into that, but like also, through maybe some lenses of like a dive bar and like the actual people you would find in these places.
For sure.
So yeah. What's it been like as far as, seeing that rise of Ottoman Turks and seeing like, you guys being a band for a while, a local band, being obviously you can include this with Josh as far as getting that notoriety outside of, because like obviously you guys have been grinding for a while, but now you're seeing the names in like the Rolling Stones and the Texas Monthlies and whatnot.
It's amazing. It's been incredible. I mean, if the whole Turks thing, like I was in Houston, I moved to Houston after I graduated college and worked in construction for a while. And then, in like 2017, I came back with the idea that, hey, Turks is going to finally like give this a go. And I was like, cool. And I've been working on some solo stuff. So like, I'll just hit music full time and that'll be great. And I came back and we basically, Turks almost broke up instead of like going out and doing the thing. So I was like, well, I guess it's time to do some solo stuff or whatnot. And then, we got one gig offered to us at one of the theaters, Granada Theater in Dallas, and it was like, oh, that was really fun. And then a record label happened to be there, and then we got a record deal, and then Josh had gotten a record deal, and just it really, I don't, it's weird going back and thinking through all of the things that happened. It was just one domino after the other that was falling, and it just, I don't know. I can't believe it. It's been really cool to watch happen. And I've had some weird stuff happen with my solo stuff too. It was just completely out of the blue. Like in 2019, obviously I hadn't released anything, and I hadn't really announced that we were working on anything either. I just got like a random email, and they were like, it was a Verizon Theater, which is a big theater in Grand Prairie, and they were like, hey, are you available on Friday? I was like, yeah, what's up? They're like, do you want to open for America? I was like, who? And I mean, I literally thought it was a joke. I mean, I didn't think it was a joke, but I didn't get a ton of information as the opener. It didn't really matter all that much, but I was like, I think I'm opening for America. I like didn't promote it or anything, because it's like, it might be like an America cover band or a tribute band, like in the parking lot of Verizon Theater. So I think that's happening. And then I ended up, opening for America. It's just like weird things like that happen all the time, I feel like, in the music industry. And you're lucky if you get them consecutively instead of just one,
Right. Yeah. That whole thing of the maybe the perception on the outside looking in, I think a lot of times we think of like bands just blowing up or artists blowing up, and where did they come from? And it's like, well, they've been working there just like under the surface of the wave, and then all of a sudden they catch that wave. And I think like I think like this is probably going to happen maybe some with Vincent Neil Emerson with this new record. And I can't remember what that record's called, but the very first record that he put out that I guess it's not on anywhere anymore. I remember
the one with like Roadrunner on it.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was. It's not like the last record, the one with Evil Women and Country.
Fried Chicken, Evil Woman.
Yeah, it's not that one. Like he had one before that someone had sent me, and I guess like my entire point is like these people have been around, and it's
for sure.
It's just like again, like I always talk about like it being, there's a little bit of talent that goes. Everyone has like to make it has to have a little bit of talent, and I don't think like anyone who's even like people you don't even like, there's still like a little bit of talent in there. It's that, and there's like it's the hard work, and like it's all those things that you would obviously think. Sometimes it's just a little bit of luck too, like being in the right place, right time, and
absolutely
the consistency. So yeah, it's I'm
and at the same time, like people that are in the scene, like we've all just been waiting for Vincent Neil Emerson to really pop off. Like, I mean, I guess in my mind, I'm like, he's been doing well for a few years now, but yeah, like most people probably never heard of him, even though he's got like Jason Momoa talking him up all the time, right. Jason Momoa's big fan of Coulter Wall and Vincent Neil Emerson. It's like, you're like, oh, they've been working forever. I know that was, I'm pretty sure I was listening to a podcast with Margot Price, and she was like, I mean, I was playing for like 10 years before anything really happened. And I think people on the outside oftentimes are like, they don't realize that's how that works.
Yeah. Well, and this goes to like, I think sometimes you always think of like I guess artists who blow up in the way of, they're 18, 19, and all of a sudden they got a record deal, all that kind of stuff. I think we always kind of point to them as thinking like that's the standard. That's like the norm. And it's not really at all. Like, there's plenty of people that you can point to that go, like, I'm looking at like a Redheaded Stranger on my wall right now by Willie Nelson. That was like his first record that actually was like made him a massive name. And he was like 42 or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, because he's been in national, I mean, he'd been on TV and all that kind of stuff before that. It just hadn't like, I don't know, he hadn't hit it just right, I guess, yet. He was still clean cut and whatnot. And it is weird how that works. It's like, even if someone's been around and honestly been successful for a while, they might not be successful in the public's eye. Might take a while longer for that.
Yeah, it's the what I always call about, like, as far as growing up thinking that if you were a household name, if you were a musician, like you were a millionaire, like it didn't matter who, like if you were just like some guy, everyone was like the Alan Jackson of whatever that world it was, you know? And it's like, no, like there's a lot of middle ground. There's like, and it's really okay to be in the middle ground. Not everyone's going to be, you know, Elvis Presley. So plenty of like space out there.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's not even like limiting the goalposts or like pulling the goalposts in. It's just like that's just how it is. Like that's, and that's fine. So not all of us are going to be like, I'm not going to have like a massive book deal, you know, like,
I mean, you might.
Well, maybe one day, hopefully.
But only after you worked for 20 years and had a successful podcast. And, you know, it's like, but people might not get to know you until the book thing happens. And then you become that to them.
Yeah. Whenever I write my Fight Club, that's
Once you write your Fight Club, yes, absolutely. Then that's when it's really going to come off for you.
Yeah. But, yeah, anyways, yeah, I've been really enjoying this conversation. I
have too.
Like this new record that you're putting out. I think like you're tapping into a lot of these emotions that I think a lot of us feel in your 20s that maybe we don't talk about enough.
Oh man, thank you so much for saying that. That's high praise. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Well, that's good. Yeah. But,
well,
yeah,
it's been great talking to you too, man. I've enjoyed listening to the podcast for a while now, and hopefully I'll get on over to the Blue Light at some point.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like that would be a great idea. As far as, I guess, like one of those. I'm sure like you guys have done this plenty of times, but the Joshua Ray Walker, Ottoman Turks, Billy Law, triple.
Doesn't happen as much as you think, but really? Man, we could. We've been talking about how like it would be the most efficient tour of all time.
Yeah.
And the projects are so wildly different, I think, that people wouldn't be like, all right, I got it. This is the third version of the same band. I get it.
Yeah.
But perhaps, the efficiency of it would be, you know, we all get along great too. But yeah, it hasn't happened as of yet.
All right, that is it for this one. Be sure to check out Alone Somewhere, out August 20th by Billy Law. Check out I Don't Care If She Ever Comes Home, out this Friday. Be sure to stop on over and visit our pals over at Desert Door and the Blue Light Live. Give us a follow and like and all that kind of stuff on social media stuff. And yeah, I'll see y'all later this week for another episode.